Now let's talk about cell phones and what kind of smartphone you should bring while traveling abroad, particularly throughout Europe. First of all, if you're only going to be traveling for 1, 2, 3 weeks, not too terribly long, you probably don't need to bring a phone at all, or just bring your phone from home and put it in airplane mode or turn off the actual calling feature and use it on Wi-Fi. That's my recommendation for that. Or you can get a very cheap phone when you get over there, maybe 10, 20, 30 euro, that can make phone calls but isn't a smartphone, just for emergencies. But you're going to be traveling for a longer period of time. I highly recommend that you get a smartphone. It's been a real lifesaver for me, and it's also important to be able to make actual phone calls, not just on Wi-Fi, if you're going to be traveling for a longer period of time. So, there are a few features that I think you really need to have in a smartphone that you purchase for traveling abroad. First, it needs to be quad band. That just means it's going to work in more locations. It's going to pretty much work in all of Europe as long as you have the quad band phone, and it should also work in the US. After that, you want to make sure that the phone is unlocked. That's very, very important because you don't want to have a phone traveling around Europe. You go to another country, you try and buy a SIM card, and you can't use it because it's not from your carrier. So make sure your phone's unlocked, and that's also more important if you're coming from the US with your own cell phone. Sometimes you have to unlock it before you get over to Europe. Which brings me to the next thing. Make sure it accepts SIM cards. In Europe, all of the cell phone carriers, or the vast majority of them, are going to use SIM cards, and the benefit of that is you go to another country, you buy a SIM card for 15, 10 euro, and then you've got a number there, you've got a few hundred megs of internet, and you can make cheap calls within the country. So the SIM card feature is very important. After that, I would say, especially for a traveler, for a long-term traveler, the next thing that you want is a dual SIM card phone, which is like this phone. That means it accepts 2 SIM cards at once. You can make a phone call with one of the SIM cards, you can surf the internet with the other one, you can leave one SIM card in and change one out. It's very, very helpful. Now I have the Samsung Ace Duos phone, and Duos means that it accepts 2 SIM cards at the exact same time. You just pop them both in the back of your phone underneath the battery, and I can switch between them whenever I want. I want to talk a little bit more about that because, especially for travelers, that is a very helpful feature. You really, really, really want that. Because what I can do and what I've done is, the first country I go to, I got a SIM card, pop it in there, and I left that country's SIM card in there. I can put more money on it if I want, or just leave it in with 5, 10 euro, whatever. Then I will always have a number for this phone, a single number that everybody can call no matter which country I'm in. So if my family hears of, let's say, a train crash in Spain, and I happen to be in Spain, they're freaking out, which did happen this past year, and they want to know if I'm okay, they call that number, they can always reach me. You leave the second SIM card slot empty, and every country that you go to, buy a very cheap SIM card, pop it in there, and for 5, 10, 15 euro, you've got a number in that country. You can make cheap phone calls within the country if you need to your hotel, your hostel, taxi, whatever you need, and you'll get a few hundred megs of internet. That means you can do very simple stuff like message people on Facebook or use Google Maps, which I think is the most important thing to use while you're traveling, and that'll help you abroad whenever you need it. So you just do that, and then let's say you go to Spain, you have the second SIM card for Spain, then you go to France, take the Spain one out, put the French SIM card in there, all the while leaving the first SIM card in the entire time. In another video I'll talk about getting a travel SIM card, but in Europe that's not too terribly important because the rates are pretty much kept at the same level regardless of what kind you get. That's another discussion. But yes, the dual SIM card feature is very, very, very important. So if you're looking to purchase a new phone, I would say to look for that feature. And that brings me to the next thing, which is what type of smartphone should you get? Well, I think you should get the least expensive smartphone that meets all of your criteria. You don't need all these extra features like facial recognition, or if you're looking at the screen it can detect it and turn it on, or I don't know, wipes your ass after you take a crap. I mean, you don't need that crap, okay? Just get a phone that allows you to add the applications that you need. Remember, your travel applications are more important than your, let's say, leisure applications or games like Angry Birds. You want to have a Google Maps, Skype, maybe WhatsApp, Viber, a Translate app, currency app, things like that. And you want to be able to have them all on your phone at the same time and switch between them, blah, blah, blah. So for me, that meant getting at least a gig of memory on the phone. Now you can probably get more. But it meant not getting the cheapest phone, but also not getting the most expensive one either. You don't need the most expensive one. This one, which I believe was mid-range, it's the Samsung Ace Duos, was €190, and it was through Amazon.com. Now, since I got it through Amazon.com, it was unlocked. I'm not beholden to any particular carrier. I can put in whichever SIM cards I want. In Germany, the Amazon website had next day delivery for €5, so I didn't have to be somewhere for a long time. You can just be in a hostel, hotel, order it, comes the next day or the next 2 days. Then you've got your phone, and then all you need is the SIM card. Also, do not get an Apple. If you're buying a phone for traveling, stay away from that stupid iPhone, okay? First of all, from what I know, they don't have the dual SIM card set up. And second, they're very expensive. They're very expensive, A, so it costs you more money. B, it's a big target. Every week in a hostel, maybe every other day, I meet someone that's had their iPhone stolen while traveling. It's just a huge target. Everyone knows they're expensive and they're nice and they're flashy, so that's why it's a target. But your little mid-range Samsung Ace Duos fits perfectly, and it's not such a big target. Also, I've got just a little case on it right here. So if I take it off, this is what it really looks like. And yeah, nice little phone. The other thing you need to get when you get the phone, do get the protector for the front of it. It's a little clear plastic thing that you can't see, but it protects the screen. And do get a protector for the actual phone itself, just an extra couple euro. And you put it inside the phone. My phone has dropped off of many tables, has fallen out of my pocket many times onto the hard concrete floor, and has never broken, never had a problem with it. And so I would highly recommend the Samsung Ace Duos. I don't have any affiliation with the company or the phone, but I've had it for a year now, and it's just been the perfect travel phone. For me, the most important thing is to be able to use Google Apps, or Google Maps is the #1 most important thing. When you're traveling around, and this has to do with the dual SIM card thing too, get some internet with that second SIM card in whichever country you land in, and then use the Google Maps app to figure out where the hell you are. This is very helpful if you're in a country like, or you're in a city like Sevilla, Spain, or Seville, Spain, where every single street goes like that and then curves. Just to figure out how to get home can be quite difficult. So I love my Samsung Ace Duos, and while traveling I wouldn't go anywhere without it, and that's probably my #1 recommendation for what type of smartphone that you should get while traveling abroad.